You ever look back on a relationship and think, wait, what was that? Like, you knew something felt off, you knew you were changing, but not in a good way, and even when you tried to talk about it, you left those conversations more confused than when you started. That's what being with the narcissist feels like. It's not always loud or explosive or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet. So quiet you don't even realize you're being emotionally suffocated. And here's the kicker. Most people who've been in a relationship with a narcissist don't even realize it until after it's over. Because when you're in it, it doesn't look like abuse. It looks like love with strings. Like maybe you're the problem. Like if you just worked harder, gave more, changed enough, things would finally go back to how they were in the beginning. But they don't. Because that beginning, that version of them, that wasn't real. Welcome back to another video. I'm Dylan, and today I'm giving you 5 clear signs you were in a relationship with a narcissist, even if you didn't know it at the time. Let's get into it. Sign number 1, you constantly second-guessed yourself. You could feel something was wrong, but every time you brought it up, they had a way of flipping it back on you. Suddenly, you're the one apologizing. You're the one misunderstanding. You're too sensitive. You read too much into things. You always assume the worst. Little by little, your confidence starts to erode. Not because they're yelling at you, but because they're undermining you. Subtly, repeatedly, you go from being someone who trusts their gut to someone who doesn't know what's real anymore. That's gaslighting. And it's one of the most damaging signs of narcissistic abuse. Because when someone messes with your reality long enough, you start to live in theirs. I know, for me, I started keeping screenshots of conversations, not to prove anything to them, but to prove to myself that I wasn't losing it. That I did remember what happened, that I wasn't imagining things. If you felt like you needed receipts in your own relationship just to feel sane, you were being manipulated. Sign number 2, your emotions were always too much. Let's be real, relationships get emotional. That's normal. But in a narcissistic relationship, only their emotions are allowed. If they were mad, it was your fault. If they were sad, you were supposed to fix it. But if you were upset, suddenly you were overreacting. If you had a need, you were needy. If you cried, you were too emotional or trying to start a fight. So, over time, you stopped showing how you feel, not because you stopped feeling, but because it didn't feel safe to express it. You started bottling it all up just to avoid being shamed, ignored, or punished. And then guess what happens? You explode. Or you shut down. And then they use that moment to prove their point. See? You're crazy. This is why no one else could deal with you. That's not emotional incompatibility. That's emotional invalidation on repeat. And if it left you feeling like you had to suppress your feelings just to be lovable, you were being emotionally controlled. Sign number 3, the relationship moved fast and then crashed. I'm going to say it straight. If it felt like a fairy tale in the beginning, but ended like a nightmare, there's a good chance you were love bombed. Narcissists move fast. They come in with intensity, compliments, constant texting, late night talks. I've never felt this way before. And you start to feel like maybe this is what real love is supposed to feel like. But it's not love. It's manipulation masked as intimacy. Because the goal isn't to know you, the goal is to hook you, to get you attached, emotionally invested, and dependent fast. So when that devaluation starts, you're already in too deep. They go from, I want to spend my life with you, to, I don't know if I even want this anymore. From, you're my soulmate, to, you're too much. And you spend months, even years, trying to get back to that high of the beginning without realizing that version of them was a mask. It was a performance. And it was never about building something real with you. It was about feeding their ego. Sign number 4, you always felt like the problem. If you've ever found yourself apologizing for their behavior, you are being gaslit on a master level. They'd lie, cheat, lash out, and then twist it to make you feel like it was your fault. I only said that because you wouldn't drop it. I wouldn't have looked elsewhere if you made me feel wanted. You make me act like this. At first, you try to defend yourself. Then, you try to fix it. Eventually, you just accept the blame and stop the fight. And that's exactly what they want. Because when they never take accountability, guess who always will? You. And the more responsibility you take, the less they have to. So, you start walking on eggshells, you try to predict their moods, you study their patterns like a full-time job. And even when you do everything right, it's still not enough. Because you're not in a partnership, you're in a blame cycle. Where they do the damage and you do the repair work. Sign number 5, you felt incredibly alone even when they were right next to you. This one hits deep because when you're with someone physically but feel totally alone emotionally, that messes with your head. You're sleeping in the same bed, eating dinner at the same table, maybe even posting cute pictures together, but inside you feel unseen, unheard, unloved. You try to share how you feel and they shut you down. You try to connect and they pull away. You try to express your needs and suddenly you're the bad guy again. It's like trying to hug a statue. They're there, but they're not there. And then, the worst part, you start wondering if maybe your needs are too much. Maybe you expect too much. Maybe you should be grateful they're still around at all. That is the emotional isolation that narcissistic abuse creates. And it's why so many people stay so long. Because the abuse doesn't always scream. Sometimes it withholds. Love, attention, affection, gone. But you're still technically together? And that makes you feel even more confused. Because how can something that looks okay on the outside feel so empty on the inside? Let me be clear. If you felt lonely while lying next to the person you loved most, you weren't the problem. You were being emotionally starved. Let's pause for a second. If any of these signs feel like your story, this video isn't meant to shame you. It's meant to free you. Because narcissistic abuse doesn't always look like what we think abuse is supposed to look like. It's not always yelling. It's not always cheating. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's confusion. Sometimes it's the feeling that you've lost yourself piece by piece, and you're not even sure when it happened. But awareness is power, and power is what gets you free. If no one's told you this yet, you didn't imagine it. You're not crazy. You're not broken. And you sure as hell aren't too much. You were in a relationship where your love was taken, but not returned. Where your kindness was exploited. Where your loyalty was weaponized against you. But that's not where your story ends. That's just where it changes. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you know better, you can start doing better for you, For the version of you who kept fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for you. For the version of you who thought you were unlovable. For the version of you who still misses them, even after everything. You are allowed to grieve that. You're allowed to feel everything that comes with waking up from this kind of relationship. But you're also allowed to heal. You're allowed to take your power back. You're allowed to rebuild. And not just survive it, but rise from it. And if you're looking for tools that help with that, check out the Break Free Kit, linked in the description. It's a free resource I put together with books, journaling tools, calming aids, and other healing essentials that helped me get through the darkest parts of this journey. Use what helps, skip what doesn't, but know that you're not doing this alone. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment and let me know which of these signs hit you the hardest. Let's open up this space to support one another, because healing from narcissistic abuse deserves community. And if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because I'm dropping new videos 3 times a week to help you understand what happened, process it, and move forward stronger than ever. You're not alone. You're not broken. You're healing. And I'm proud of you.